Welcome to LC Screen Talk. My name is Larry, and this is my review of Sorry to Bother You. So I was super excited to see this film. The trailers looked fantastic. It looked like an intelligent, smart film full of commentary about race and the workplace. It really did look like it was something special. Now I am going to start this off by saying I don't think the actual film really is representative of what those trailers showed completely. It definitely is in the same vein of what those trailers showed, but the tone is not what those trailers showed at all, pretty much. Because this movie is pretty much insane. It goes completely bonkers by the end of it, but I still kind of loved it. So let's go ahead and talk about the positives first. Well, I mentioned it in my opening, and it remains true. This is a very smart, intelligent script that is brought to the screen here. It has a lot to say about racism and the way that Black people have to deal with racism in everyday situations, constantly just barraged with having to put on some sort of show. Whether that be a show, as in being more white, to get ahead, to succeed, to be in the workplace, or whether that be a straight up show of, hey, you're the only Black guy in the room, show us what we want to see, and how you have to appease that. And really, I thought all of the racial subtext was fantastic in this film, and it all worked really, really well. Whether it came from our main character or his girlfriend, I love that we saw so many different types of people having to put on this kind of front to be successful. And even when they were trying to remove themselves from situations like this, unfortunately, it's kind of an inevitable thing that takes place. It was done really, really well. And the film also has a ton to say about capitalism and morals versus money, and it takes it to the extreme now, but we definitely get to points where it's all about, what are you willing to do for the cash, and when is enough enough, but it really goes in on capitalism in general, and the American public. How ridiculous the American public is, what we consume, what we pay attention to, what we can ignore, and the fact that we move on from one thing to the next without really addressing the first thing, but forgetting about it because this next ridiculous thing just came along. So this script just has so much that it's saying, and I think it says pretty much all of it very well. It's a very intelligent script filled with beautiful dialogue, and I really do commend it for being what I would say is basically the 2018 version of a blaxploitation film. This is kind of what I wished that Superfly would have been more like. I don't wish it went all the way that this one did, certainly, but I wish it had something to say. I wanted this sort of subtext like the original blaxploitation Superfly was. And really it is like a blaxploitation film in all senses, both positive and negative, but those positives really rang true, and I thought they were done very well. I also think our actors are very good. Lakeith Stanfield is amazing in this film. I thought he was so fantastic. I loved everything about his character. His full development I thought was great. Tessa Thompson is predictably wonderful in this film. She also has to run the gambit, and I thought she did it very well. Then we have others like Donald Glover, who isn't given all that much to do, but he pulls off what he's got to do very well. He's so charming. And then Armie Hammer, you can tell, is having a blast with this role. And clearly he fits the mold of the role that he's playing very well. But I think there's a certain level of self-realization in his portrayal of the character, and it comes across great. And I do think the film is funny. I laughed a lot in this movie. I definitely did swings of thought-provoking, solemnness, actually. Moments where I was actually pretty affected and sad, to laughing, because they're cracking really funny jokes. And sometimes both of those are put into one in really funny, smart, intelligent, relevant jokes. And I laughed quite a bit in this film. I don't know if everyone's gonna laugh as much, but even in some of its ridiculousness, it still maintains a certain level of humor at all times. It's also beautifully shot. I think the cinematography and the direction of the film are pretty much fantastic. So, yeah, there's a lot that this film gets right. So, what are the negatives when it comes to Sorry to Bother You? Well, my biggest negative is it goes too far. I think it just gets too ridiculous and too outrageous. And by the end, I think it's outrageous just to be outrageous, and it's ridiculous just to be ridiculous. So this really out there concept that is put to the screen has a clear point to make and is part of a bigger issue within the film. But then we get scenes like the last scene that are just in there for some sort of ridiculous comic relief. We get the characters saying stuff that is just in there for ridiculousness. And you do laugh out of being uncomfortable, but also out of just like, okay, this is crossed over a little bit. I wish they would have pulled in the reins, pun intended, a bit on the ridiculous factor of what was going on by the end. I also personally didn't love the music. I understand it was a choice, and I understand the choice in general. I just was pulled out of it from the music selection and the score. Just the background music in general, I thought was a little bit like, oh, alrighty then. It's a little bit distracting. And as I said, the last big negative for me is that I think a lot of people are really going to not be happy with this film. Because the trailer sells a much more straightforward concept than what you get. This is much more abstract. This is much more outside of the box than you're anticipating when you walk into that movie theater. So it is a bit of a misrepresentation. You're sold a more mainstream film than the one you're actually given. So just check your expectations, and I think you may enjoy yourself more. But a trailer that does somewhat mislead the audience, I think, should be listed as a negative. Know what you're getting yourself into, and the film should at least give audiences a little bit of warning of what it is that's to come. So overall, giving this film a recommendation is a tough one. For me personally, I think it's worth the full price ticket. I think as crazy and bonkers as it gets by the end, the writing is still so strong, and the metaphors and allegories hold up very well. They are all expertly told in different scenarios, and they transform as we work throughout. And for that reason, I would personally give this a full price ticket. However, I don't think this film is for everyone. Certainly not. So for the average moviegoer, I'm going to say give this a rental. Again, there's a lot of great things. There are a lot of wonderful messages that you can glean from this film, and that I think definitely need to be heard. But because I think it's almost impossible to prepare people for what it is they're about to step into, this should be a rental. Because there is about a 50-50 chance, if you're interested in this film, that you might just think it's ridiculous and stupid, or you'll get on board with everything it's trying to say. So take that 50-50 chance by renting it at home. So, that is my review of Sorry to Bother You. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, go ahead, click like down below, and subscribe to the channel so you are always up to date on our latest videos. Also, join in on the discussion. Are you excited to see Sorry to Bother You? And what is your favorite blaxploitation film, if you've seen any? Let me know either in the comment section down below, or hit me up on Twitter. I love you all so much for your support. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!